Today we will discuss an interesting topic, ascending tract of spinal cord. So before going into this lecture, let me explain the basic terms we will be using in this lecture. So if you have read the neuroanatomy, you are familiar with the terms that is in the structure of a brain. You have the frontal lobe in the front side, occipital lobe in the back side, parietal lobe at the top, and on the side you have the temporal lobe. So frontal lobe is in the front side, and also front we can call it as it is in the anterior side or ventral. Occipital lobe is in the back side, or it is in the posterior side or dorsal side. So these are the terms you have to know that. And also, what do you mean by cephalo and caudal? Cephalo means top, the top, and caudal means bottom. And those structures near the anterior side, that is in the frontal lobe, are also known as ventral in position. Those structures in the posterior side or in the back side are near the dorsal in position. Always know that the cerebellum is in the back side of the brain, that is it is in the posterior side or dorsal side. So what is this section we are seeing? When you slice a brain, that is when you cut a brain like this, when you cut a brain like this with a slide, you will have a side view of the brain, that is the lateral view. You are cutting the brain medially. What if you cut the brain in the center like this? You will have a structure. I will show you here. You will have this structure. When you cut the brain like this, you will have this structure. So be familiar with the section of the brain. Then so I have here the two slides. Please read it later. It has the location of the regions of the brain and its functions, and you have the cerebral hemispheres, this whole part, and you have the cerebellum here, and you have the brain stem. This whole part is brain stem. We will discuss a lot about that. So here we have a structure of a neuron. A neuron, a group of neurons connected together to form a nerve. So a nerve consists of a group of neurons connected together. A neuron consists of a cell body, dendrites, and a tail. This tail we call it as axon, and axons are covered with a covered layer known as myelin sheath. So when two neurons, when they meet, the area is known as, the meeting area is known as a synapse. That is the junction of meeting of two neurons. Let us come to our topic, ascending tract of spinal cord. So what do you mean by this ascending? Ascending, in generally it is known as in numbers or in alphabets, from small numbers to the higher number. That's what we call ascending in mathematics. But here in spinal cord, the ascending tract means the tract from the body to the central nervous system, that is from the body to the central nervous system. What do you mean by descending tract? Descending tract means from the central nervous system to the body. So please do not confuse with the term ascending. So now what is a tract? Here in spinal cord, a tract is a bundle of axons of a neuron. So this is a tract. In a tract we have axons in it, that is bundle of axons in it, like millions of axons. So this tract will have a common starting point and a common ending point, and this tract will move ascending, move up and down, descending in the brain and spinal cord. In the brain, I hope you have heard the term gray matter and white matter. So what are gray matter and what are white matter? So gray matter is a group of cell bodies make a gray matter, and a group of axons form a white matter. In gray matter you see cell bodies of neuron, in white matter you see the axons of the neuron. So in the brain, so the white matter is distributed as from cephalocaudal, that is from the top to bottom, the white matter that is distributed in vertical position are ascending and descending tracts. If the white matter is distributed from the anterior to the posterior position, that is from the frontal lobe to the occipital lobe, they are called association fibers. And if the white matter is distributed from the right side to the left side, they are called as commissural fibers. For example, you have corpus callosum in the brain, which is a commissural fibers. So from in vertical position you have ascending tract, descending tract. In anterior to posterior position, that is from the frontal lobe to occipital lobe, you have association fibers, and from the right side to the left side, that is from right temporal lobe to the left temporal lobe, you have the commissural fibers. In ascending tract of spinal cord, receptors play an important role. These receptors transfer the signals from the body to the central nervous system. So what are these receptors? These receptors are biological transducers. So what is a transducer? Transducer is, it converts one type of energy into another type. So basically these receptors convert one type of energy into another type. when someone touch you, what happens? That is, when someone externally is giving a stimulation to your body. So there are receptors in your skin such as Meissner's corpuscles. These receptors, it will sense the touching sensation and it will convert that mechanical stimulus from the outside, and it will convert that energy into electrochemical energy, electrochemical signals, and these signals we call it as action potential. So receptor, it converts the mechanical stimulus into electrochemical action potential, and this action potential is taken by the neurons. It is taken by the neurons, that is axons, into the central nervous system. So another example is that when you see a bright light in the morning, what happens? The light is in the form of electromagnetic wave. So you have receptors in your eyes. What are these receptors? They are rods and cones. Receptors in your eyes. So the light is in the form of electromagnetic waves. These rods and cones receptors will convert the electromagnetic waves into electrochemical action potential, and it will pass the action potential through the axons of a neuron through the central nervous system. And I already discussed earlier that a group of neurons connected together to form a nerve. So in this example we can say optic nerve. Optic nerve is passing the information, that is passing this action potential to the central nervous system. So here in our body we have receptors in the skin, muscles and joints. In the skin, the receptors which are in the free nerve endings have the ability to detect the temperature of the body, that is temperature and pain, that is cold temperature, warm temperature and pain. And there are receptors in the skin which can detect the pressure sensation, and they are known as Pacinian corpuscles. And there are other receptors that can sense the touching sensations, and they are called Meissner's corpuscles. And you have receptors in the muscles, in the muscle spindle, and you have receptors in the tendons, Golgi tendon apparatus, and you have receptors near the joint, kinesthetic receptors. So whenever there is a mechanical stimulus from externally, or whenever there is an activity going on in the body, these receptors will convert that energy into action potential, and it will send to the central nervous system. In the previous lecture, in the regulation of respiration, we have discussed how the activity in the body, it will regulate the respiration, that is the proprioception receptors from the muscle spindle, Golgi tendon and the joints, we call it as proprioception receptors from the locomotor system, and how these receptors send signals and regulate the respiration. Here we have a structure of the section of spinal cord. So if we cut the spinal cord in this section, we will have this section of the spinal cord. So before moving on, let me explain the parts of the spinal cord. And we have the dorsal horn, lateral horn, anterior horn. So why this area is dark and the surrounding area is very light in color? This dark area have the cell bodies of neuron, that is, this area is the gray matter of the spinal cord, and the surrounding area is the white matter, that is, it has the axons of neurons. So why do we call this as dorsal horn, lateral horn and ventral horn? Because it is in the dorsal side. If it is in the dorsal side, we call as dorsal horn. If it is on the lateral side, we call it as lateral horn, and if it is on the ventral side, we call it as ventral horn. So what is dorsal? It is the posterior side. What is ventral? It is the anterior side. And here we have two roots from this in the spinal cord. So the root on the dorsal side, we call it as dorsal root, and the root on the ventral side, we call it as ventral root. So what does this root, dorsal root, carry? This dorsal root carry only the sensory nerve fibers, that is the axons carrying the action potentials, that is the signals from the receptors. This sensory nerve fibers go through the dorsal root, and after the processing and analyzing of the information in the cerebral cortex of the brain, the cerebral cortex, from there is a descending tract, and that descending tract will carry motor nerve fibers, and that motor nerve fibers will come through the ventral root, and it goes to the rest of the body. So in dorsal root you have sensory nerve fibers coming into the spinal cord and goes to the brain, and in ventral root motor nerve fibers from the brain, it goes to the rest of the body through the ventral root. The same goes to the other side also. So whatever I say here, it is the same on the other side. So when the sensory nerve fibers, before it enters the spinal cord, it will first meet the first order neuron outside the spinal cord. So this first order neuron outside the spinal cord in the dorsal root, we call it as dorsal root ganglion. After meeting the dorsal root ganglion, it will enter the spinal cord. In dorsal root you have only the sensory nerve fibers. In the ventral root we have only the motor nerve fibers, and these two roots combine together to form a trunk. Trunk means a common body. It is known as spinal nerve, and if the spinal nerve goes to the posterior side of the body, that is to the back side of the body, we call it as posterior ramus, and if it goes to the anterior side of the body, we call it as anterior ramus. This anterior ramus will form the plexus of the anterior side of the body, such as brachial plexus, etc. So this white matter in the dorsal side of the spinal cord, we call it as dorsal column, that is dorsal column or dorsal funiculus, and the white matter on the lateral side, we can call it as lateral column or lateral funiculus, and the white matter on the anterior side is anterior column or anterior funiculus. and we have discussed already that in dorsal root you have only the sensory nerve fibers going through the dorsal root to the central nervous system. That is, you have only the ascending tract in the dorsal column or dorsal funiculus. But in the ventral root you have motor nerve fibers from the central nervous system passing to the rest of the body, and also know that you also have some sensory nerve fibers passing through the ventral root also. So you have both ascending tract and descending tract in anterior column and also in lateral column. You have both ascending tract and descending tract in lateral column and in anterior column. You have only ascending tract in your dorsal column. So do not forget this one. Remember this every time. This dorsal column is a modern system. Why do we call it as a modern system? Because it is more disciplined. That is, it has only ascending sensory nerve fibers, ascending tract only, and this lateral column and this anterior column we can call it as anterolateral column. It is primitive system. What do you mean by a primitive? Primitive means very old system. It has both the ascending and descending tracts. It's very crowded and it is not disciplined like this dorsal column. In dorsal column you have only the ascending tract. Dorsal column follows line and lane principle. So what is this line and lane principle? Let me give you an example. In an express highway you have on one side of the road you have pedestrians walking, and you have heavy truck going on one side, and you have motorbikes going on one side, and you have cars and buses going on one side, and on the other side there are vehicles coming on the opposite side, but it goes in a well disciplined manner. This vehicle will move like this and this vehicles will move on the opposite side, but it will never cross. So this is known as line and lane principle. In dorsal column you have ascending tract, but in anterolateral column you have both ascending tract and the descending tract. So what happens is this anterolateral column does not follow the line and lane principle. In dorsal column there is spatial orientation. What do you mean by this spatial orientation? Spatial orientation means the localization of the sensations, such as when someone touch your hair, you can exactly know where the sensation is coming from, even if this person touch your hair and not the skin. That is the fine touch. In dorsal column the signals from minute sensitive details are received. That's why you have the sense of fine touch, sense of vibration and sense of 2-point discrimination in the dorsal column. So what is this 2-point discrimination? So when you touch your skin with one of your fingers, you know exactly where your finger is. If you use 2 fingers and touch your skin, and you know exactly the location of the 2 fingers, you can sense the touch on 2 different locations on the skin. This is known as sense of 2-point discrimination. That is, you are able to differentiate the location on the skin. When you are sitting, you know where are your legs are, and you know where are your hands are, and in what position they are. So this sense of position is also received by this dorsal column. In anterolateral column, we have the primitive system, that is, it is the very oldest system. The sensations from the beginning when human beings are created, such as pain, temperature, that is cold and hot temperature, tickling sensation, and itching, and sexual sensations, and these are very older sensations, even from the beginning. This proprioception, it comes under both the modern system and the primitive system, because proprioception receptors are basically present in the tendons of the muscles, then muscle spindles, then the bones, joints. So whenever we do the work, the proprioception receptors will receive the signal and it will send it to the central nervous system. So proprioception that are present in the dorsal column, and it also comes under the primitive system, that is in the anterolateral column, because human beings have been working from the day they were created. Now in dorsal column you have only the ascending tract. That means there are millions of neurons, but only the ascending tract. So you have more myelination, that is the myelin sheath covering the axons. There are more myelin sheath covering the axons. We can say that as more myelination. And you have the fast velocity, that is you have only the ascending tract. So the velocity, that is the speed of the signal, is very fast here in the dorsal column. And you have great localization. You can exactly localize where the sensation is coming from, even if someone touch your hair, or even if any insect or dust in your hair, you can exactly locate where the sensation is coming from. And you have rich line and lane principle in the dorsal column. When we come to the anterolateral column, what we have less myelination, because there are also ascending tracts and also there are more descending tracts. So it's like very crowded. So you have less myelination, and the information will be pass very slow here. So slow velocity. Because of this crowded ascending and descending tracts, you have poor localization. Example, I have already told you, if you touch with your palm of your hand on the skin, what happens? You cannot localize the exact location. It is diffuse or spread all over the skin. So this crude touch, this is called crude touch. It comes under the it comes under the anterolateral column. And you have a poor line and lane principle, because you not only have the ascending tract and also you have the descending tract. So these signals from the body into the central nervous system, we call it as afferent transmission, and the signals from the central nervous system to the body, we call it as efferent transmission. Let us see in the dorsal column or dorsal funiculus how the sensory nerve fibers are transported. So the sensory nerve fibers, here I have shown you only one sensory nerve fiber, that is one neuron. There are millions and billions of sensory nerve fibers present here. For understanding purpose I have shown only one. So from the receptors, the sensory nerve fibers pass through the trunk, that is the spinal nerve, and then to the dorsal root. It first meet the dorsal root ganglion, that is the first order neuron, and then it enters the, most of it will enters the dorsal column, and very few it will goes to the anterior and lateral side. That's why in anterior lateral column you have both the ascending tract and also the descending tract. The sensory nerve fibers from the right side, after entering the dorsal column, it will go to the central nerve system on the right side, and the sensory nerve fibers from the left side, it will go to the central nerve system through the left side. So there is no crossing of the nerve fibers, and it goes to the central nervous system ipsilaterally from the dorsal column. And also note that the sensory nerve fibers from the lower part of the body, it goes on the medial side of the dorsal column, and the sensory nerve fibers from the upper part of the body, it goes on the lateral side of the dorsal column, and this kind of arrangement is known as topographical arrangement. I will explain this. For example, the sensory nerve fibers from the foot, it goes medially to the central nervous system, and from the calf muscles it goes like this, and from the thigh it goes like this, and from lower abdomen it goes like this, and from the upper abdomen, from the upper limb, from the head and neck. You can see clearly here that from the sensory nerve fibers from lower part of the body are in the medial side of the spinal cord, and from the upper part of the body are in the lateral side of the spinal cord. So this is one side. This goes the same on the other side. So this kind of arrangement we call it as topographical arrangement in the dorsal column of the spinal cord. So this sensory nerve fibers from the lower part of the body, it will form a tract, and this tract we call it as fasciculus gracilis. Like the same from the upper part of the body, we call it as fasciculus cuneatus. We already discussed that bundles of neurons form a tract. So the bundles of neurons from the lower part of the body form a tract known as fasciculus gracilis, and from the upper part of the body we call it as fasciculus cuneatus. So now I ask you a question: if you cut the lower part of the spinal cord, will you see fasciculus cuneatus or fasciculus gracilis? You will see only the fasciculus gracilis, because fasciculus cuneatus are from the upper part of the body. So if you cut the upper part of the spinal cord, you can see both the fasciculus cuneatus and the fasciculus gracilis. Here you have the first order neuron outside the spinal cord, that is the dorsal root ganglion. We will see shortly where is this second order neuron, third order neuron and fourth order neuron. So this fasciculus cuneatus receive the sensory nerve fibers from the upper limb, thorax, upper abdomen, and this fasciculus gracilis receive the sensory nerve fibers from the medial and lower body, that is from the T6 vertebrae and the lower limbs. Now we know that the sensory nerve fibers from the lower part of the body will form a tract known as fasciculus gracilis in the medial side, and the sensory nerve fibers from the upper part of the body will form a tract known as fasciculus cuneatus on the lateral side. So we are talking about one side, and this is the same on the other side. that is this, if this is the left side and this is the right side. So this fasciculus cuneatus and fasciculus gracilis will go to the cuneatus nucleus, and this fasciculus gracilis will go to the gracilis nucleus. The other side also, the fasciculus cuneatus go to the cuneatus nucleus, and fasciculus gracilis go to the gracilis nucleus. So where are these nucleus located? These nucleus are located in the medulla oblongata. You know that here you have a spinal cord, brainstem, medulla oblongata, pons, midbrain. These structures, I hope you are familiar with these structures, and you have these nucleus here located in the medulla oblongata. Here in this nucleus you have the second order neurons. So these fasciculus cuneatus tract, the sensory nerve fibers passing through the fasciculus cuneatus tract, it will meet the second order neurons here in this nucleus. From here it will go to the opposite side and it go upwards. The same goes with the fasciculus gracilis. It will cross and it will go upwards. The same happens in the other side. So in dorsal column, the sensory nerve fibers, they do not cross and they go upwards on the ipsilateral side, on the same side. But here in medulla oblongata, what happens is the sensory nerve fibers from fasciculus cuneatus and fasciculus gracilis go to the opposite side and it go upwards. So here in medulla oblongata, the sensory nerve fiber crosses and it goes to the contralateral side. So when it goes upwards, again it will form a tract. This tract we call it as medial lemniscus. How do you identify this medial lemniscus and fasciculus? If you cut this section that is below the nucleus, you will have fasciculus. If you cut above the nucleus, you will have lemniscus. How will you identify this structure, lemniscus and fasciculus? It is identified by the round shape. Fasciculus has a round shape and lemniscus has a rectangular shape. If you cut in this section, you will see this structure, fasciculus structure, and if you cut above the nucleus, you will see the lemniscus, this structure. So we have the first order neuron in the dorsal root ganglion, second order neuron in the nucleus cuneatus and nucleus gracilis located in the medulla oblongata. We will see where this medial lemniscus tract goes. This medial lemniscus tract goes to the thalamus. The thalamus above the midbrain is located like this. If you have read the neuroanatomy chapter in anatomy subject, you know the position of the thalamus. This is the posterior side, medial side, anterior side and the lateral side. Always remember the position of the thalamus because it is very important. In thalamus also you have these areas as in the dorsal column and anterolateral column. So the structures, these areas have nucleus inside it. So know the position of the thalamus. This is the anterior side and this is the posterior side. Even if I turn the thalamus upside down, you should know which is the anterior side and which is the posterior side, and here is the lateral side and here is the medial side, and the structures near the anterior side are ventral and the structures near the posterior side are dorsal in position. So in these areas you have nucleus, and here in thalamus, in the ventral area, you have 4 nucleus. First nucleus is in the ventro-anterior side. Second nucleus is in the ventro-intermediate, that is between the first nucleus and the third nucleus, and the third nucleus is in the ventro-posterior side, that is posterior to the second nucleus, and the fourth nucleus is not separated. The fourth nucleus is attached with the third nucleus, so it is in the ventro-posterior and medial to the third nucleus. So I will summarize. The first nucleus is in the ventral area and it is nearer to the anterior side, ventro-anterior. The second nucleus is in between the first nucleus and the third nucleus, and it is also in the ventral side, so it is ventro-intermediate. The third nucleus is posterior to the second nucleus and also it is in the ventral area, so it is ventero-posterior side, and the fourth nucleus is attached with the third nucleus. So the fourth nucleus is in the ventral area posterior to the third nucleus, and it is attached on the medial side of the third nucleus, so it is in the ventromedial position. And the third nucleus, it is in the ventral area and it is posterior to the second nucleus, and it is near the lateral position of the thalamus, so it is in the ventro-posterior lateral position. So it's quite confusing, but it's very easy if you remember this position of the thalamus and the ventral area, dorsal area, and the position of the nucleus in respective to each other. So the third order neuron is located in the nucleus of the thalamus. The first order neuron you see in the dorsal root ganglion, and the second order neuron in the nucleus cuneatus and nucleus gracilis located in the medulla oblongata, and the third order neuron in the nucleus of the thalamus. So this third nucleus, it will receive the sense of touch, pain, vibration and position, and the fourth nucleus, it will receive the sense of taste and the sensory nerve fibers from the head and neck. So for understanding purposes, I have rotated this thalamus here so that you can clearly see the fourth and third nucleus. Now you know the location of the thalamus. This is the anterior side, posterior side, lateral side and medial side. Always know that the opened mouth is anterior side. So now the medial lemniscus, the sensory nerve fibers in the medial lemniscus, it goes to the third order neuron located in the nucleus of the thalamus. Near the thalamus we have structures such as lentiform nucleus on the lateral side of the thalamus and caudate nucleus on the anterior side of the thalamus. From the caudate nucleus there is a mass of gray matter fold the thalamus and the lentiform nucleus like this, and in between the lentiform nucleus and the thalamus you have a sheet of white matter, we call it as internal capsule. And this internal capsule, actually it looks like this. So it has two limbs, the posterior limb and the anterior limb, and the curve, it is called as genu. In this section of the brain we will see the structures. So how did we get this section of the brain? If you cut the brain like this, you will have this section of the brain. So here you have the thalamus, lentiform nucleus. Here you will have the chordate nucleus, and you have internal capsule. So if you have an internal capsule, there should be an external capsule or outer capsule. So it is located here, the outer capsule. Basically, internal capsule is a mass of white matter pressed together. It is internal capsule. Here from the lemniscus tract, medial lemniscus tract, you have the sensory nerve fibers go to the third order neurons in the nucleus of the thalamus, and from the third order neurons it goes through the posterior limb of the internal capsule and it go to the post-central gyrus, and from the post-central gyrus to the cerebral cortex. So where is this post-central gyrus located? Here in the side view of the brain, you have the frontal side, occipital side and temporal side. If you have read the neuroanatomy chapter, you know in the brain there is a central sulcus, and posterior to the central sulcus you have the post central gyrus. The sensory nerve fibers from the internal capsules are distributed throughout the cerebral cortex in the post central gyrus in a radiating curtain, and this curtain is known as corona radiata. So here in the somatic sensory cerebral cortex, the information carried by the sensory nerve fibers are analyzed here. So the information is analyzed and the informations are compared with the present experience with the past experience, and here the quality of the sensory experience are also analyzed, and also in this sensory cerebral cortex the localization of the sensation and the grade of the sensation are also taken place. So what do you mean by localization, grade, quality, comparing the present with the past? For example, if you have an injury, at first what this somatic sensory cerebral cortex do is it will localize the pain. Where is the pain coming from? Then it will grade the pain, that is whether the pain is very high, low or medium. Then if you have the same injury in the past, it will compare the present injury with the past injury, and it will compare the present pain with the past pain, and it will analyze the information, and it also analyze the quality of the pain, like whether the pain is just only on the surface of the skin or whether it is very deep. Since you have only the ascending tract in the dorsal column, very minute detailed informations are analyzed in the somatic sensory cerebral cortex. In this diagram we will see the summary of the dorsal root fibers. So here the sensory nerve fibers from the lower part of the body, first it goes to the first order neuron in the dorsal root ganglion. In the dorsal root, it enters the spinal cord through the dorsal root and it goes upwards ipsilaterally on the same side and without any crossing. So when it goes upwards, the sensory nerve fibers from the upper body, it also join with it. So we already discussed earlier that these sensory nerve fibers from the lower part of the body, it forms a tract called fasciculus gracilis, and the sensory nerve fibers from the upper part of the body form a tract called fasciculus cuneatus, and this fasciculus cuneatus and fasciculus gracilis will go to the nucleus cuneatus and nucleus gracilis located in the medulla oblongata, where the sensory nerve fibers crosses and it will go to the opposite side, that is the contralateral side and it moves upwards. When it moves upwards, these sensory nerve fibers, that is this cross contralateral sensory nerve fibers, will form a tract called medial lemniscus. From the medial lemniscus, the sensory nerve fibers will now go to the nucleus of the thalamus, and from the nucleus of the thalamus, the sensory nerve fibers go through the posterior limb of the internal capsule and is distributed in the cerebral cortex in a radiating pattern known as corona radiata. Here we know that the first order neuron is in the dorsal root ganglion, second order neuron is in the nucleus cuneatus and nucleus gracilis, and third order neuron is in the nucleus of the thalamus. Here in dorsal column, the dorsal root sensory nerve fibers are arranged in a topographical arrangement, that is, from the lower part of the body the sensory nerve fibers go medially, and from the upper part of the body the sensory nerve fibers will go laterally. In this diagram you see you have the central sulcus here, lateral sulcus here, frontal lobe, temporal lobe, and you have the occipital lobe and parietal lobe. So posterior to the central sulcus you have the postcentral gyrus, and in front of the central sulcus you have the precentral gyrus. If you take a small part from this area, you see this speed breaker like structures. This is known as a gyrus, and this depression we call it as sulcus, and this sulcus, if it goes very deep, we call it as fissure, that is a deep sulcus. And you see there are dark areas. These dark areas are gray matter and these lighter areas are white matter. Always know that the cerebellum is in the posterior position. So if you want to know the location of the brain, the position of the brain, always refer to the cerebellum. If the cerebellum is here, that means this is the posterior side and this is the anterior side, that is, this is the frontal lobe and this is the occipital lobe. In this diagram you have the central sulcus and you have post central gyrus and precentral gyrus. If you cut the brain like this, you will have these structures. We will discuss about the precentral gyrus, that is the motor nerve fibers in descending tract of spinal cord topic. Today's topic is ascending tract of spinal cord. So today's lecture we will discuss the sensory part in the postcentral gyrus. Here you see the cerebral cortex, you have the gray matter and here you have the white matter, and see the arrangements. The sensory nerve fibers from the lower part of the body are in the medial side, and from the upper part of the body are in the lateral side. This diagram shows only the postcentral gyrus and its arrangements. Now we will see the first order neuron, second order neurons, third order neuron, fourth order neuron in the dorsal column system. Dorsal column system, mainly it is related with the fine touch, pressure and proprioception, and also we have discussed that in dorsal column you only have ascending tract. So the sensory nerve fibers from the locomotor system or from the skin, it passes through the first order neuron, then from the first order neuron it goes to the second order neuron in the dorsal column nuclei, that is nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus. From the second order neuron it goes to the third order neuron located in the nucleus of the thalamus, and from the nucleus of the thalamus, from the third order neuron, it goes to the fourth order neuron. We have discussed only first order neuron, second order neuron and third order neuron. So where is exactly this fourth order neuron? This fourth order neuron is located in the postcentral gyrus. That's why I have showed you many pictures of where is the postcentral gyrus. Postcentral gyrus is in the cerebral cortex. So in dorsal column system, you have the first order neuron outside the spinal cord, you have the second order neuron in the brain stem, you have the third order neuron in the thalamus, and you have the fourth order neuron in the postcentral gyrus, that is in the brain. So that's it for the dorsal column system.